logs. I have a lot of experience with these. They're not to be trusted. Not a log truck, but still worth avoiding.
Final Destination 7 is officially in the works, and I am so excited that I have a crazy new theory to share today. So let's talk about everything we know so far about this 7th installment, as well as if this new entry could introduce the idea of immortality into the long-running horror franchise. Now let's get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Before we get into today's update and theory, please make sure to subscribe to this page for more coverage on the Final Destination franchise, as well as many other new horror movies. Also, the best way to support the page is by becoming a channel member or checking out the merch store. Go pick something up from the shop or become a Patreon supporter today by clicking on the links in the description of this video. Thank you all for the support. Now let's get into it. This is some very exciting news, ladies and gentlemen. Final Destination 7 has been officially greenlit. The studio wants more death. This comes right after a huge horror-filled summer for New Line and Warner Bros., not only having a gigantic hit with Final Destination Bloodlines, but also Weapons, debuting with an impressive $42.5 million at the domestic box office. Check out my review of Weapons if you haven't seen it yet, by the way. New Line is a company that was built on horror, going all the way back to the 80s with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It's pretty cool to still see them thrive in this bloody, gory genre. Some of the confirmed details about Final Destination 7 is that Bloodlines screenwriter Laurie Evans Taylor will return to pen the script, although there hasn't been any word on if Guy Busick, her co-writer from the previous film, will return to write yet. Guy Busick is also responsible for the scripts for Ready or Not and Abigail, two movies that have fantastic character work that we also saw here in Final Destination Bloodlines. So I really hope he gets a call from the studio sometime soon. If he hasn't already, that is. John Watts is also back to produce and hopefully oversee the script again, just like last time, alongside his wife Diane McGonigal. Fun fact about them, their very first date was going to see a Final Destination movie. It was meant to be, baby. Also, the unsung hero of the Final Destination franchise, Craig Perry, will return to produce. You can't do one of these movies without Craig. He is just part of the DNA of Final Destination. Show some love for Craig. No word yet on if Bloodlines co-directors Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein will return for the 7th entry yet, but I'm sure it's coming. They killed it with the previous entry, and it would be no surprise if they dominated this franchise for a little bit. I would love to see them complete a whole new trilogy. Now, this is all insanely exciting stuff, but I am also hyped to get into a crazy new theory today, because some interesting things have been happening on the Final Destination social media pages recently that we need to bring awareness to. The studio has seemingly hired AJ Cook, who of course plays one of the only people to ever successfully cheat death in the franchise, Kimberly Corman from Final Destination 2, to do some silly little ads to promote the latest film dropping on HBO Max recently. Here's a little clip from all of that.
Not always a lifesaver in my experience. No.
Kimberly was briefly mentioned in Bloodlines by William John Bloodworth and was allegedly spotted on set taking photos with the cast members during the production process of the previous film. This left a lot of fans wondering why she didn't show up in the last movie. It had such a recool vibe to its setup and the way it was executed. I'm shocked there wasn't more legacy characters besides Tony Todd, of course. Mr. Todd, however, I think deserves the crown for one of the best reappearances of a past character being utilized in a new film again. His sequence in Bloodlines is easily one of the biggest highlights. It's the first time a Final Destination film made me cry. Kimberly Corman and also technically Thomas Burke both survived the events of Final Destination 2 and could totally serve as the legacy characters in the next movie, right? I mean, even though actor Michael Landis hasn't been in too many movies or TV shows recently, he did attend the premiere for Bloodlines. These two are still very involved with the franchise. I would not be shocked if they were in contact to potentially star in this next movie without it being confirmed yet. Laurie Evans Taylor is likely crafting their re-entry into the series as you guys watch this video right now. So just like how they reinvented Bloodworth for Final Destination 6, I imagine they're gonna do something similar here for Kimberly and Thomas. Let's get into this new theory. I think it's always fun to explore new ideas in these later entries to horror series, taking ambitious swings that can sometimes revolutionize a series and bring it back into popularity. I mean, let's be honest, that's what Final Destination Bloodlines did so well. It's a total reinvention of the classic formula with a family focus, opposed to a group of friends, strangers, or co-workers. universe? What if Final Destination 7's whole new idea revolves around what they do with the legacy characters? So let's say Final Destination 7 goes back to basics. A group of friends, strangers, whatever, survive some sort of horrible disaster because one of them had a premonition, seeing it all happen before it happened. Then they slowly get picked off in the same way they were supposed to die in that original disaster, and the remaining few try to find a way out, finding some sort of way to cheat death. Then they find Kimberly Corman and Thomas Burke. Our characters, of course, are coming to them looking for a way out, but Kimberly and Thomas share an ugly truth: they can't die. What's the only thing worse than death that this series has yet to explore? Immortality, something that I would argue is a fate worse than death. What if by cheating death, Kimberly and Thomas can't die and are doomed to walk the earth for eternity? I mean, that is pretty terrifying and an insane expansion to the lore we already know and love. It also feels like it's piggybacking off of some of the ideas present in the previous sequels, where characters couldn't die until it was their turn. Remember George from the Final Destination? You know, the best character in that fourth movie? We love George in this house, baby. So what if Kimberly and Thomas are perpetually stuck in something similar to that after cheating death? Would it deter our characters from trying to survive, or would it entice them? You could have an insane third act where some of the characters accept their fate while others are doing whatever they can to achieve immortality. The argument now between the characters on death's list is, should we cheat death and then just walk the earth for eternity, or should we just accept our fate? It's no longer just about cheating death. This complicates it a little more. It could lead to a brutal, maybe even an emotional climax where characters are watching other loved ones die so that they don't achieve a fate that is worse than death, something that I'm sure they'll argue about in this very stressful situation. So what if Kimberly and Thomas are purposefully sabotaging these characters so they can get on the list themselves? There was a new rule introduced in Final Destination Bloodlines: when you f with death, it you back. Kimberly and Thomas likely know that at this point and are trying to find a way to avoid being melted by the sun when it finally explodes in 100 million years or whatever. I mean, personally, I would rather just die one time versus having the sun melt my body for an eternity while it explodes into a supernova. I mean, I don't know, that sounds pretty awful. I'm okay with like maybe 70 plus years on this planet. Please and thank you. Maybe that's a little too high concept for Final Destination, but it's entry number 7. Who cares? Let's do some crazy Lovecraftian BS like that in entry number 7 because it would be really cool. That's really my only argument. This just sounds sick as f. What do you guys think about introducing the element of immortality into this franchise and the new horrors that would pursue? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching. Please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.